Now, like I said at the beginning of this, watch how robotic. I am not joking. Watch how robotic she sounds when she's getting ready to speak. It's not a human being they're talking to. That is a bot. On everything, that's a bot. Watch. I ain't lying. All right. So speaking of gun control, just recently today, scrolling on my YouTube feed, there was a debate. It is not even a debate, because a debate is when two individuals have opposing ideas, opinions, whatever the case is, and they're going back and forth with their opinions in an intellectual way. But then as I start to listen to some of these grifters, they don't have opinions. At some point, I don't even think they understand that they have their own opinions in some of this, because they're so used of reciting, rehearsing, mimicking, mirroring talking points. When you become a real life bot and all you're doing is reading off a paper for your entire career, well, I wouldn't even call it a career, for your entire job, you essentially don't become a human being anymore. You're just a fancy Alexa at that point. And Tomi Lahren is a perfect example with that. I thought this was going to be a nice back and forth. You know, she's going to have some good points and then he's going to come with some good. It was none of that. She just like, it feels she literally just looked at a paper and just read what everyone else is saying. Tucker Carlson is saying the same thing. Candace Owens is saying the same thing. All these people, Ben Shapiro is saying the same thing. It's like they send a mass email on, this is your talking points. Don't say nothing more. Don't say nothing less. Stick to the script. And she does a really good job at that, I guess. Let's go ahead and watch the video and let's have that conversation.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. It's only the 87th day of 2023, but America's experienced its 129th mass shooting of the year.
129.
3 children aged just 9 and 3 adults were killed at a school in Nashville, Tennessee. A former student, Audrey Hale, a biological woman who identifies as transgender, or did before she was killed, and apparently uses male pronouns, but frankly, who cares about the pronouns? Well, certainly by comparison to the appalling.
Now, let me just throw that out, because a lot of Republicans are starting to kind of mimic that. Well, who cares about their pronouns? Because, you know, they, you know, killed people and now they're dead. So who cares? I get that. I understand that. Call them whatever you want to call. But if a black person was to have committed a murder like this, would you just like go on air and call them the N-word with a hard R? Is that okay then? I mean, they're dead. They did something horrific. I want Piers Morgan, if when a black person commits a murder, call that person the N-word with a hard R, and let's see how that plays out. You know what I'm saying? So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you know, maybe we shouldn't like open that can of worms, you know?
Appalling cowardice shown by police at the Uvalde mass shooting, where you may remember 20 were killed. The police there deserve full credit for the courage that they showed in taking down that shooter. Joining me now is Ashby Beasley, who herself survived a mass shooting in Illinois only last year, along with Fox News commentator and Outkick host Tomi Lahren, who lives just minutes away from the school, the scene of this latest shooting. Well, welcome to both of you. I want to start with you, Ashby, if I may. Now, you and your 6-year-old son were present at a shooting at Highland Park, Illinois, last summer, where 7 people were killed and 48 injured. And then by an extraordinary coincidence, having campaigned since then.
So, I mean, not to put like looks as if looks matter, you know what I'm saying? But like, you could tell someone who really cares. You could just kind of look them in the eye and be like, she been through some things. She ain't jumping on this show just to be cute. She ain't jumping on here and be like, hey, maybe, you know, I can like maybe have a career in this. No, she got some things to say. She ain't just doing it just because she bored. This person, on the other hand, is like, what is the occasion? Oh, yeah, I got it, because you got an image that you need to uphold. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little weird to me. I just kind of wanted to point that out, you know.
Then,
I don't know.
For gun law reforms, you happened to be on a family vacation right in Nashville when this latest shooting happened. And you went down to the scene and you spoke incredibly movingly to the media that were there. Let's take a look at this.
Aren't you guys tired of covering this? Aren't you guys tired of being here and having to cover all of these mass shootings? I'm from Highland Park, Illinois. My son and I survived a mass shooting over the summer. I am in Tennessee on a family vacation with my son, visiting my sister-in-law. I have been lobbying in D.C. since we survived a mass shooting in July. I have met with over 130 lawmakers. How is this still happening? How are our children still dying, and why are we failing them?
Well, they're
That's
good
a good
questions.
question.
Ashby,
That's a good
thank you very much
question.
indeed for joining me. What motivated you to go there and say such a passionate thing there to the media?
You know, only in America can someone like me, who survived a mass shooting last year with my 6-year-old son, go to a rally in D.C. that is being put on by the survivors of another mass shooting, Newtown, Connecticut, and then stop by to visit my sister-in-law in Nashville and meet up with a friend whose son was killed in a mass shooting in a Waffle House in Antioch, Tennessee, who I met in D.C. lobbying. And only on the day when we planned to have lunch could another mass shooting happen down the street from that friend's, son's school, a son who was at the mass shooting that killed his brother. Only in America can you find yourself in that kind of a situation.
Only in America.
So, when she called...
Right, just to interrupt, but just to hear what you've just said, I've got to say, sitting here in London,
in America,
that kind of sentence is just extraordinary to people here. It's not to me, because I've lived and worked in America for a long time, but it's just the relentlessness of these shootings, and in particular, the relentlessness of school shootings. There have been, I think, over 80 school shootings in America this year alone. I mean, we had a appalling one in the UK, in Dunblane, Scotland, in 1996, and we irrevocably changed a lot of our gun laws, and we didn't have the same amount of guns in circulation. Just to be clear, there's a different problem here. This was the front page of the Daily Mirror at the time. I was the editor. I helped drive a campaign to make things safer, and we've not had a school shooting since 1996. America's had over 80 this year.
Let me just... He said since 1996 or 97, they haven't had a mass shooting since then. When I first heard that, I was like, he has to be lying. Like, really? Not even like a half a mass shooting, not even like a little mass shooting. Like, boom, just once a year, maybe one. But like my American brain can't get out of that, because I'm so used of hearing that. Mass shooting, mass shooting, mass shooting, more kids dead, another shooting at a school, It's like, I start to get weird when I don't hear it. It's like, wait, did someone pass like some gun laws that I don't know about? Because it hasn't been a mass shooting okay, there it is. See, it's almost like clockwork. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. Like, I don't know about you, but when I heard that, I'm like, you gotta be lying. Since 1996? That just seems like he's lying to me. Like, that can't be possible. People are just naturally crazy, right? Like, they have to shoot people. I don't know.
What do you think, Ashby, is the answer to this? Because Congress, which would change the rules, change the laws, seems completely locked on this, completely gridlocked. Almost like nothing can be done.
Well, I'm glad that you said 1996, because since 1999, children in American schools have experienced gun violence. Over 350,000 children have experienced gun violence in schools since 1999. So you changed your laws in 96. We haven't changed our laws since then, and the toll is just growing.
No.
Our government needs to step.
Okay, I want to put a pause on that, because unfortunately, America has created gun laws in America since then, but it's not what you think. And hopefully when I'm editing this, I'll remember to put this in the video. But In 1960, the NRA supported gun control when the Black Panther Party had the weapons. Back in the 1960s, even the NRA supported gun control to disarm the group. America will act. America will act on gun control. They will be the most creative people. They will stand on the mountain. They don't care who loves their guns. They don't care about that. If they see that black people have guns and they're actually using it, or they're presenting it like the Black Panther Party of self-defense, they're using it to protect their community from drugs, from police, from gangs, I guarantee you, today in 2023, the NRA, the government, everybody, every Republican is going to get extremely creative, and they're going to create some gun control. I guarantee it. They did it back then. And you don't think people love their guns back then? But the government, they made laws specifically, craftily, if that's a word, they craftedly created legislation to take the guns out of the Black Panther Party of self-defense hands. So they can do it. Maybe they should just, maybe more black people should get guns and do it like the Black Panthers did. And I guarantee you, something will change.
Step in, our lawmakers need to step in, and they need to pass gun safety legislation. The access to weapons of war, the easy access to guns is what's killing us. It's what's killing our children, and there is no other answer than passing gun safety legislation. 90% of American citizens support background checks, universal background checks.
Least.
Let's do it. Let's get it done.
At least.
Let's bring in Tomi here. Look, Tomi, you and I have discussed guns. I mean, it seems like forever.
Okay. Now, like I said at the beginning of this, watch how robotic, I am not joking, watch how robotic she sounds when she's getting ready to speak. It's not a human being they're talking to. That is a bot. On everything, that's a bot. Watch. I ain't lying.
This is a Groundhog Day debate. I'm not going to sit here as a Brit and tell Americans how to lead their lives. I tried that once. It didn't go down very well. So let's try a different tactic here, which is, I think the key phrase which I heard there from Ashby was, rather than using gun control, which is complete anathema to many Americans, particularly in a British accent, because you, as you rightly point out, drove us out with guns. So you don't want to hear it from us. I get it. I get all that. But she mentioned gun safety. What can be done to make things safer?
Ready.
Because things far from getting safer in America. All what's happening is the number of guns in circulation are exponentially increasing, well over 400 million now. And so the number of shootings are increasing, mass shootings, school shootings, everything's increasing. You, as an American citizen, cannot be happy about that, surely. What do we do about it?
Here we go.
Well, I will tell you this. I want to talk about the mental health aspect of this in a moment, but first I want to address the gun rights and the gun safety debate in question. So here in the United States, we use guns to protect everything that we hold near and dear, to protect our politicians, our celebrities, our red carpets, our jewelry stores, you name it, everything that we deem important. We put people with firearms that are trained to use those firearms to protect those entities and those individuals. We do not protect our schools like we should. And if you look into this shooter's background, you look into their manifesto,
Here
they had
it
a map
is.
of this school, because what we use to protect our schools is a little sign that says gun-free zone. So when you're looking at soft targets, if you are a psychopath, a freak, a monster, you look for places where you can go and cause carnage and damage where nobody will be able to stop you. Now, thank God for our Nashville officers that responded so quickly and were able to neutralize that monster and that threat. But had we had somebody outside of that school that was trained with a firearm, they could have neutralized that threat almost immediately.
Tomi.
We need to look into protecting our schools.
Okay.
You can't tell me none of that was scripted. It's like she didn't even take a breath. Like it was just one complete run-on sentence. No periods, no commas. She just ran through like 6 talking points. America love their guns. Call them a freak, a monster. Soft zones. thank the people that responded to it. She hit all of that, and even on her next rant, she's gonna hit every single nuanced talking point, like she was just rehearsing it. And when you're trying to have a good faith debate with somebody, a conversation even is more genuine, it's more natural, it's more, conversational. What she just did that's not a conversation. You're reading something. Is it just me tripping? But I'm pretty sure you've seen it. I don't know. I don't know.
But we know what happened at Uvalde. There were hundreds of good guys with guns, and none of them had the guts to go.
Look, they're flipping the papers in the back.
So
oh shoot, he said that.
It's not a given that actually, if you have a load
watch.
of people who are good people with guns in these schools, it makes any difference. We saw what happened on the video here about what this person did. But on a wider point, I tweeted today, for example, look, rather than get into the same old debates, what about regulating guns in America as in the same way you regulate cars? And I got an unbelievable amount of abuse immediately, just endless abuse, as if I didn't know what I was talking about. But when I actually...
Now, this is how I feel when I'm arguing with these type of Republicans, because I will waste a lot of my time gathering a lot of information, a lot of statistics, because that's what they like to say, facts over feelings. So I gather up all these facts. I put them on a fancy piece of paper. I go over it, make sure I'm not leaving nothing out. And as you see, Mr. Pierce is going to have like 2-3 pages worth. He's going to present a really good example of what was then, how they solved it, and he's going to compare that to guns, and she is going to not care about none of that. But she can't, because she's already sticking to a script that she already pre-rehearsed. But when you're having a natural conversation, you have to deal with what the person is saying. But come on, watch. I ain't
then
tripping.
Posted a piece by Nick Kristof, who was at the New York Times at the time. And I explained what I meant. And I'm just going to précis what the piece was. A brilliant piece. It was a few years ago. But he said, if we had the same auto fatality rate today that we had in 1921, by my calculations, we'd have 715,000 Americans dying annually in vehicle accidents. Instead, we've reduced that fatality rate by 95%, not by confiscating cars or taking them away, but by regulating them and their drivers more sensibly. And then he goes into all the things that have happened in that period, right? They talked about requiring driver licenses, putting speed limits, registering vehicles. All of that was originally met with ridicule. When authorities in New York City sought in 1899 to ban horseless carriages in the parks, the idea was lambasted as devoid of merit and impossible to maintain by the New York Times. Yet over time, as more and more people were being killed by cars, they brought in more and more regulation. By the 1920s, a lot of this stuff like car registration, license requirements, other safety measures, and then over time, seat belts, airbags, padded dashboards, better bumpers, rules about drunken drivers, graduated licensing for young people,
It sucks he's going to go through all this for no reason.
Blah, blah, blah.
It
The
sucks.
upshot of all that was that there's now just over one car fatality per 100 million miles driven. And so it was a very well-argued point. And at the centre of it was not a claim, which I know goes down very badly with gun owners in America, that you want to ban guns or grab guns. I'm always called a gun grabber. I don't want your guns, trust me. But about making it as safe as cars.
Oh, man.
Doing what happened to cars. Why not just do that and see what happens?
Here we go.
Well, here's the thing. Somebody that's going to go into a school and murder children is not like your average driver who needs to obey a speed limit or wear a seatbelt. Somebody that's going to go in to murder students clearly does not care about laws in general. So what does making law-abiding citizens, making it harder for us to have firearms, what does that do to stop a monster, a psychopath, a freak? Now, I understand your argument here. So we need gun safety. We need people to be trained how to use firearms, to respect firearms, and change the gun culture in this country. I'll also say in the last 30 years, gun ownership in the United States really has not changed much. What has? our mental health situation. And now, thanks to the radical LGBTQ movement in this country, we are exploiting mental illness, especially in young people. So when you look at this particular shooter, you look at their background, you look at the mental health counseling and services, they were receiving probably gender affirmation, because that's the new status quo now. Instead of saying this person has a real mental illness that needs to be addressed on an individual basis, we now cloud everything under the guise of gender affirmation and tolerance. The mental health aspect is very important here.
Okay,
we can have a discussion about gun safety, gun rights, but we have to address mental health, and that's being glossed over.
I couldn't agree more with you about mental health. All I would point out is we have exactly the same mental health problems in this country and in many European countries. And because we don't have the availability of guns, we don't have 80,000 people a year dying from guns.
Look, she doesn't care. Just sit there and just smile. That's it. No one is saying take all the guns. We just don't want the guns, which Ogor's about to say right here. It just doesn't make sense to have the guns that were literally on purpose created to kill as many people as possible. That's the only purpose of these AR-15s, whatever they call. I know a lot of people be like, well, those are not exactly AR-15s, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a gun freak. I don't know. But the guns that shoot a lot of bullets really fast, I'm talking about those guns. Those guns do not need to be in the hands of civilians, just like a tank, just like a rocket launcher. You should not own a rocket launcher. I don't care how much you love rocket launchers. Ooh, I love the rocket launchers. When the rocket launchers go boom, I don't care. You should not own one. People shouldn't own tanks. It's a reason for that, obviously. But, of course, missed talking points. Don't care about that.
We had, I think, one last year. So that's what I would say in return to that. I want to come back to Ashby finally for this. The local congressman...
Can I just answer something that she said?
Yeah, sure.
Can I answer something that she said?
Yeah.
Statistically, we know that mass shooters, 77% of mass shooters get their guns legally. That means that they don't have a criminal record. That means that they're not doing the things wrong. They're not on some sort of list.
Well, I was going to make the point,
of them get their guns legally.
Yeah, Ashby, I was going to make the point that this particular shooter was a woman, transgender. I'm not interested in that aspect of the story, other than to say that she acquired 7 guns legally from 5 different stores.
Right.
To which and apparently was at the same time receiving medical treatment from a doctor for being emotionally disturbed. Now, to anyone with half a brain, this seems like an utterly lethal cocktail, but nothing in the system stopped her. I'm interested also, Ashby, in this. This is Congressman Andy Ogles, who is the congressman responsible for that district. So he's a US lawmaker. And in Christmas 2021, he tweeted this Christmas card to the world on his Twitter account. Let's take a look at this. That's him with his family, all clutching guns, including young children. Merry Christmas from the Ogles family, he wrote. The atmosphere of firearms anywhere and everywhere restrains evil interference. They deserve a place of honour with all that's good. As some people have pointed out, it doesn't seem a particularly responsible or appropriate thing for a US congressman to be doing. And now we see, perhaps, in a disturbed mind, what that kind of mindset can do.
Yes, and if I'm being honest, I look at a picture like that and the glorification of weapons of war, because the AR-15 was designed for combat in the 1950s. It is a gun that shoots smooth. It's an easy shot. I shot one recently. You can put your eye on the barrel when you're firing an AR-15, and you will not lose your eye. It is designed for ease, for killing. Yeah. When I see a gun like that in a picture like that, what I think of is Mexican cartels. And how Mexican cartels are arming themselves with our guns. They're arming themselves with our guns. Over 200,000 weapons are being trafficked into Mexico every single year. Republicans, like this Republican in this picture, is complaining about the fentanyl crisis on a daily basis. But our assault weapons are enforcing the fentanyl crisis, none of our lawmakers are doing anything about it.
Yeah, I think the truth is they're both hugely important issues in America. They both have huge tolls
just shake your head
on life.
slowly.
I just think it's completely inappropriate for a congressman to be be putting Christmas cards out with his kids all clutching rifles like that. I'm not sure what message he's trying to send. And I'm not saying he's responsible for what happened.
Guns.
Yeah. Look, Tomi, and Ashby, thank you both. I mean, Tomi, you and I, we've discussed this a lot. I just hate the Groundhog Day aspect. I love America. I love Americans. I respect the Second Amendment. I understand you can't take all the guns away. There are too many of them. This can't go on. You can't just wake up every few weeks and have another school being shot up by people in combats with all these guns. Something has to happen. Something has to change. And the thing I find most frustrating and dispiriting about it is Americans are the most can-do people in the world. They get stuff done. And yet on this, there's total paralysis. And when we did the campaign in the UK after Dunblane, there was no partisanship or political difference of opinion. It was never political. I never really understood how it's got that way in America. Here, left and right came together and went, the lives of kids come above everything. And I think until that is the starting point, I don't think anything happens in America. But look, I appreciate...
Okay. Hey, I will answer that question for you. It's real simple, Mr. Piers Morgan. Okay, invite me to your show because I'll come on now. Who wouldn't want me on the show? Check this out. It is real simple. Money. The money that the NRA, that these lobbyists continue to put into the pockets of these politicians is the number one reason. That is it. Of course, it's going to be a political issue because these politicians, the ones who have the powers to wield laws and legislation in America, they're getting paid. Like I said in my last segment, you can track their ratings. These politicians' ratings when it comes to the NRA, you can see how much they're getting paid. And it's not a couple of dollars. So if you're getting paid thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to uphold a position no matter what's going on, I don't care if 100, 200 people die, you're getting paid money. And I'm pretty sure there's a contract somewhere in there. I don't know. The NRA hasn't reached out to me yet. You have no incentives to go against, not really against the grain, because American citizens, they want that. They understand that. It's really basic. It's not asking for a whole bunch. But they're going against the grain, essentially, because they have no incentives to go along with the American voters. It's really simple. So what more answers do you need? As long as these politicians are getting paid, no gun control, no gun safety laws, no nothing close to it, the conversation is going to die on sight. As long as these politicians continue to get paid. Simple.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people, power to the pod.